I'm Tempe Mayor Corey Woods, and I could not be more happy that you are here participating in this process. Planning is expected to last through the end of the year with multiple opportunities for public participation along the way, so please stay engaged. Character area plans are a great way for residents to convey the vision and goals of an area to create positive change. These plans can help guide our Economic Development Division, who can then refer to the plan to see what kinds of businesses would be most appreciated in a given area. These plans can also guide our planners, who can then refer to them when working with businesses and developers to help guide landscape treatments and housing options, or when creating new bike paths, planning public art, or designing streetscapes. We are thrilled to have you along for this process. We can't wait to hear about the vision residents have for this unique part of Tempe.
Okay, so thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Ambika now.
Thank you, Sona. Thank you very much, Sona, Brenda, Robbie, and everyone. My name is Ambika Adhikari. I'm the Principal Planner in the Long Range Division of Community Development. We actually had a meeting this afternoon, exactly the same information. Was very, very well attended. So first of all, it's good to hear from the mayor about the initiation of this program. The agenda today is we'll have initial remarks by our Deputy Director of Community Development, Ryan Levy. After that, me and Robbie will make a presentation for about 20 minutes just to give you an introduction. Most of you know the character area planning process, but for the new people, just a refreshment. And it will also include some discussions and even some polling initially. So before I start, I'm going to ask Ryan Levy to say a few words about the process. Ryan?
Great. Thank you, Ambika. I appreciate the opportunity to kick this off today. My name is Ryan Levy. I'm the Deputy Director in the Planning Division, and we're setting ourselves up for the Character Area 1 process led by Ambika Adhikari with Robbie Aaron. We've got multiple other staff that are involved contributing to this effort, including Shauna Warner's team for Neighborhood Services, Diana Kaminsky. We appreciate all the opportunity the staff has to support this effort. This is our first endeavor north of the 202 freeway, and we hope that you are engaged and involved in the process. The Character Plan is a policy document, and it's a way to bring together placemaking and design principles together, and we're excited for you to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. That's very helpful. That actually lays out the kind of work that we're going to be doing. There are quite a few staff from our city, people from housing, from economic development, some more from the community development and other departments and transportation. So later on, when there are questions, we can have the appropriate staff respond to you. And if there are certain things we cannot respond, we can always get back to you. So let me upload the screen and then we'll do a PowerPoint presentation. Give me just 1 second. Sona, am I on?
Yes, but it's showing the two screens, Ambika. I don't know if you can take it down to just the one, or we can see the.
Let me see. I was able to do it this afternoon, but let me stop and then go back again just one more time. Bear with me, folks, just 1 second. Is it better now?
Yep, looks good.
Wonderful. Okay, so welcome everyone one more time on the Character Area 1 planning process. And myself and my colleague Robbie Aaron will be making this presentation for about 20 minutes. And we want to save about half an hour for the discussion and questions and answer at the end. And there's also going to be a chat box when Robbie reads out the question, or if you have any thoughts in the meantime, you can go ahead and put your questions and comments on the chat box, and we can refer to that later on. So let me start with the, let's see. Okay, so the agenda today, we just had the welcome and staff introduction. Staff will begin to introduce themselves when they speak. The character area planning process and part of the general plan vision is something that is part of this that we'll discuss. And Robbie will provide some initial thoughts and some questions so that you can give your comments and your thoughts on those areas. And we'll also show the next steps and the timeline. Like the mayor was saying, it is a year-long process approximately. And then at the end, we'll have questions and answers. So this is our branding for the Papago North Tempe character area. And at the bottom, you see a link to the website, which is live. And the website also has a survey, which is open for 2 weeks from today. And you can go ahead and look at that survey and take the survey. We'll really appreciate that. That will help us. And this recording of this program is also going to be uploaded onto the website later on. So anyone, like Sona said, anyone who couldn't attend right now can listen to it. So how is the character area planning process run? It's most of you already know Tempe is divided into 8 character areas. That's what the general plan 2040 shows. And out of those 8, 5 plans for the character area have already been completed. As you see on the right side, the cover pages of those 5 plans. There are 3 remaining character areas to be planned. That is character area 1, 2, and 6. And today, for this year, we're doing character area 1, 2, and 6 will be done later on. Here is a map for the entire city of Tempe showing all 8 different character areas. The colored ones have been completed. The gray ones, the 2 and 6, are to be done in future. The character area number 1 on the north side that you see with the orange hatching is the one that we're working on right now. What is a character area? The concept of the character area is embedded into the General Plan 2040. Basically, it's defined as an area which has some traits which are unique compared to its neighborhood areas, and also some area which has some amount of similarities within itself in terms of, for example, the age of housing, style of architecture, pattern, color, building materials, landscape, etc. The process of character area planning, like Ryan Levy mentioned, it's a high-level vision and a policy-level plan. It's not a regulatory plan. Sometimes people get a little confused. Many of you already know because you've been involved in the initial character areas, but we will continue to emphasize this difference that this is not a regulatory plan. It's a high-level vision and policy-level plan that can be referenced for design and economic development and character areas and so forth. The character area plan will have different elements that will include the background and history of the area. That will be maybe the initial chapter that we'll review and write. There will be a visual survey of the aesthetics to identify what are the core traits of the area that actually define and provide that particular character for that area. And then it include, based on all of that, it would include the development of design and planning principle so that anyone, developers or the staff or the residents know what is expected of the future development. Obviously, it will become consistent with the council priorities and other plans that I will show later on. And the whole process is highly collaborative and consultative. Like this is the first meeting today, will be completely open from here on, either through email. When you go to the website, you will see the email. You can call us and you can put your comments on the website. So there are many ways to interact with us. And once the pandemic eases out, we might transition from the virtual meetings to even an in-person meeting, or we might do a hybrid meeting later on in the summer. How are the character area plans utilized? It is a plan for the community. The ownership is actually lies on the stakeholders and the community. It's a reference document for future developers and stakeholders so that when they plan, do a particular application and design, they know what the community and what the city has envision for this area. It's also a reference for the staff because when we do the design review, we review a lot of documents to assess the compatibility of the application, like for example, with the zoning ordinance, with the general plan and other plans. So character area plan is another plan that we review to see that the application and the proposal is consistent with the ideas in the character area plan. It also becomes an input for many other plans that we continue to do, like the park master plan, infrastructure plan, climate action plan, and other plans. And obviously, it also helps us to further the council performance measure. Now, what is included? I just gave some of the elements, but one more time, the scope of the plan is a high-level vision and a policy-level plan, not a regulatory plan. And the vision obviously is crafted by the residents together with the staff or anyone who is a stakeholder. And it starts with the character area defining traits, and then it includes the development of guidelines and principles for that particular area. A lot of emphasis on the public realm because the private areas and spaces very often are the private properties. Just to reemphasize, what is not included in the character area plan? It is not a regulatory document. It does not change the land use. You have to actually look into the general plan for the land use. It doesn't change the zoning. You have to look at the zoning of your property and what is the underlying zoning on your property. It doesn't change the private property rights. It does not define rental versus ownership status. It doesn't prohibit any kind of uses. And it is also different than the code compliance. The code compliance is a different method that the city uses to ensure that everything is okay in the city. Now, the character area planning will refer to several other documents that the city has adopted.
Why?
Some examples. One is the affordable housing strategy, the City of Tempe Urban Forestry Master Plan, the City of Tempe Climate Action Plan, and of course, the general plan. In addition to that, the city continues to have many different visions and programs. For example, the concept of 20-minute city, Vision Zero program, and bikeways and transit corridors, all of them inform and provide an input in the planning process. Here is a simplified diagram of what I just described. The character area plan, for example, for character area 1 is at the center. All these 7 different circles that you see around provide the input as the factor: transit, the general plan, the community, the economy, the housing, and all of the above. Here is an enlarged map of character area 1. As you see, it is north of the 202, and the other 3 sites are the boundaries of the city itself. And although it is one character area, initially, when we look at it, it appears that it can be subdivided into 4 different sub-areas. This is completely open for discussion. Initially, we have put the sub-area number 1 to the east, which has a lot of open spaces, the WAS, and some light industrial facilities. And immediately west of that is the majority of the residential areas and some institutional areas. And that also includes, by the way, the county island. And we'll discuss a little more about the county island as we move forward. Although this is not exactly within our jurisdiction, but we want to be aware of what is there and what might happen eventually, because many of the parts might be annexed to the city. Then west of that is more of an open space, the rolling holes, the Papago Park, and the golf course and the parks. And then finally, on the westmost side of the character area plan is the larger lots type of development, commercial, office, and some multifamily. So those could be potentially 4 sub-areas, but on the whole, Papago, North Tempe has one sort of coherent area because of its landscape and its history and other elements. There are some quick stats on what is the size of the character area 1, what are some of the important indicators in character area 1 compared to the entire city. Just for one example, the geographical area of character area 1 is 3.35 square miles compared to 40.1 square miles city of Tempe. The population in the character area is approximately 10,000. These are all 2020 data. And compared to 195,000, that comes to about 5%. So character area 1 consists of about 5% of the city's population. The median age, average city and the character area 1 is very similar. Household income is slightly lower than the city average. The unemployment rate, of course, has changed. This was 2020. And you can see number of jobs and total number of businesses. There are 2 slides, very busy. We can get back to it later on, but let me highlight a few of the things. This is based on the census data and also the American Community Survey done by ESRI. And you can see there are some indicators which might be of interest for us moving along. It has, for example, it has population, it has number of households, and it has, for example, housing affordability. That shows 127. What that means is if anything more than 100 means that housing is affordable for the majority of the area residents for the housing within that community. So for example, what this means is given the income of the average residents, they can afford the housing in that area, assuming that they pay down 20% down payment and assuming that the interest rate is 4.5%. In other words, they will qualify to get the mortgage for a housing with the income that they had. So 127 is reasonably good. And compared to some other locations in the city of Tempe, the affordability here is pretty good. Similarly, the diversity index of 67, for example, what that means is if you subtract it from 100, 33 is the number. There's a probability that if you pick up any 2 people randomly in the area, that they will belong to 2 different ethnicity and race. So the higher, the lower the number, the better in terms of the diversity. So, and it also provides some maps and some graphs indicating the age of housing. As you'll see, majority of them were constructed between 1960s and 70s and 80s and 90s. Gives a median home price of, there's a graph of 425,000. There's quite a bit of data here. And then the next slide again is ESRI. I extracted some of the major points in the previous slide, but it gives you the mapping and the landscape of the employment situation, businesses, transportation, and number of businesses in the area. This is a quick map to show the institutional land uses, for example, the Tempe Laird School and some alternative learning processes. And so what I will do right now is I will hand it to Robbie Aaron, who will talk about some of our initial thoughts and questions. There will also going to be an opportunity for you to write on the chat box. Also, a couple of them when there's a yes and no question, I think there are also some polls. We'll take 5-6 minutes on this one. And Robbie, please go ahead and then ask me when you want me to change the slide. Robbie Aaron.
Thank you, Ambika. As Ambika said, my name is Robbie Aaron. I'm a planner in the Long Range Planning Department. In the Planning Department, Community Development, and I will be assisting Ambika throughout this process. He and I will be working on it together. The initial thoughts are kind of meant to provoke some thoughts from you all. I'll be asking some questions, and then we'll put the question in the chat box, and I'll give you a few minutes, or I should say about a minute, to answer each of the questions. And these are just to kind of get some initial input, but also to get you thinking, and then you can go a little deeper into your thoughts when you go take the survey. So Ambika, go ahead. So the first question we have is, what elements set this area apart and make it unique from other parts of Tempe or even the Valley? So go ahead and put those answers in the chat box, and
You can also make a note of them. I think Brenda is going to put them on the chat box. So later on, when we open for discussion, you can also speak to it. But in the meantime, like Robbie said, please provide your answer in the chat box.
All right, Ambika, let's keep on moving here.
Sure.
So next question is, what elements should be preserved, enhanced, changed, added, or taken away or taken out in order to improve the area? All right, Ambika, next slide. Next question is this an area where one can be young and old? Can one age in place here? And there should be a poll on your screen. You can just click yes or no. We'll give you a little bit to respond to this. And once you responded, if you have any additional comments for this question, you can place them in the chat box. All right, looks like everybody thinks they could live here forever. So that's good. It's good. All right, Ambika, next question. Is the current mix and balance of land uses appropriate? You can go ahead and answer the poll, and then if you have additional comments, go ahead and put them in the chat box. All right, so there we got the poll results. It's almost split, 58% yes, 42% say no. So we'll get into that in it's a mix of land uses into doing this plan. Next question, what design criteria can we put in place to help to improve the quality design and ultimately the community? So this, when we talk about design criteria, we talk about we talk about materials, we talk about landscape, we talk about the way buildings look, the way your parks look, and those kinds of things. So overall quality, and Bika, if you want to go into that a little more.
Yeah, Robbie. So you can think, just to make it simple, you can think in terms of what kind of landscaping is in all that area, what kind of building materials, the typologies of the building, for example, the mass of the building, what size, big, large, and the different characters. So think of the quality of the design from the external and aesthetic perspective of building materials, types, and the quality.
All right, Ambika. Next question, what is one thing you want to see in Character Area 1 in the future?
Sorry for the typo, it should be in the future.
All right, Ambika, last question is, what is one thing you do not want to see in Character Area 1 in the future? All right. Go ahead and feel free to keep putting things in the chat as we move forward. I'm going to hand it back over to Bika, and he's going to continue on with the presentation.
Thank you, Robbie. Those were excellent questions to start with. We can come back to them both from the chat box comments, and also when people want to speak in person, you can raise your hand, so you can just simply unmute yourself and speak to it in a couple of minutes once we finish this presentation and open it for discussions and inputs. I'm going to provide some images. All the pictures that you are seeing in our presentations, the staff is taking the pictures just to understand what kind of building aesthetics the landscape types, and the ambience occurs in the area. So here are a couple that we have organized in terms of the massing of the building, the typologies of the building, and how is the informal landscaping and the formal landscaping actually is reflected, the water bodies, the rolling hills, all of those things that provide the character, the visual character of the area. And then obviously the initial building typologies, the single family ones, the mature landscaping, and the new apartments and multifamily complexes that we see with the new landscape. And also on the east side, some of the light industrial establishment that we see. Now we'll go to what are the next steps and what is the timeline. So today, March 15th, we had 2 virtual meetings, and all this information once again is going to be uploaded into the website. And the survey, just a couple pages survey, is also available on the website for 2 weeks for anyone interested to take. And we basically introduced the topic today, started with some of the ideas from the design elements on how things are going to be done, the planning processes. Summer 2021, between now and the summer, we will continue to have local meetups and stakeholder meetings. We will do virtual meetings, hybrid meetings, and hopefully pretty soon we'll also do in-person meetings. We will discuss the issues, what are the aspirations of the community, what are your priorities, some of the questions that, like, for example, that Robbie posed. And then we'll also take your survey and your priorities through our autocracy. In other words, you can pin your areas in the map and your comments. You can also send us to it in writing. If we do it in person, you can also put the stickies on the map, but even virtually, we can follow that procedure. Then fall and the winter, we will have outlines and draft plans that will continue to share and work with you. And once we have a reasonable draft, we'll put it out for public review. That website that we talked about is going to be our main platform for the communication between everyone and the staff. And any revision that we need to do, we'll do that. And also in the next slide, we'll also go to many of the boards and commissions. And finally, our plan is to take it to the council for their consideration towards the end of the year or the beginning of 2022. There are some of the boards and commissions that we intend to go at least once. We might even go to them more than once, even to get their initial input. And once we have some kind of draft plan, all these are very much relevant to what we do on character area planning, transportation commission, neighborhood advisory board, parks, recreation, sustainability, historic preservation, and so forth. So here is a listing of the 3 contacts that you can have. There's also an email and the phone number on the website that will come to all 3 of us. Myself, Robbie Aaron, Sana are going to be the main face of the city for any questions or any comments you have. And as I discussed earlier, that characterareas.tempe.gov is going to be the main platform of communication between you and us. Please go ahead and feel free to look at that. So that's our presentation. We did want to leave almost half an hour for discussion. But before I open it for discussion, what I wanted to ask is if anyone from the staff, if there's something that I missed or anything that you wanted to add, please go ahead. Okay. Seeing none, does anyone have any questions, want to raise hands? Robbie, if you can monitor that, that would be helpful. And then after that, we can also go to the chat box. Nobody wants to speak?
Yeah, Ambika, this is Ryan Levake, real quickly.
Yes.
Just to let you know, if we receive any comments about the Town Lake area, our focus is north of the 202 freeway. But if you have comments around the Town Lake, we'll certainly be happy to forward those on to Craig Hayton with Parks for any discussion comments. You know, they're actively master planning the Town Lake area, and they'd love to hear your comments as well. So we'll definitely forward those on.
Thanks, Ryan. That's very helpful.
I do
Yes.
see a question, Ambika.
Yes.
I'm gonna pass it to Ryan. Can we reduce the air traffic? Flight paths seem to have shifted and are now directly overhead. So Ryan, can you address that one?
Yeah, certainly. The Aviation Commission will be an active participant in this process. We know some of the uniqueness of this area has to do with air traffic noise, and we'd be happy to be a point of discussion as we want to address any concerns that the neighborhood has with noise factors pertaining to aviation. So that'll certainly be an element if the resident communities feel it's a strong focus to address.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I just wanted to quickly add on that. Definitely we go to Aviation Commission. We've also begun to contact the City of Phoenix for any program that they have for insulations. Looks like that is something that might be phasing out. And we'll also be getting the latest map on the noise contours up to 65 day and night decibel levels and what areas are impacted. So just like Ryan says, we will have some background materials and we'll connect both through the Aviation Commission and also City of Phoenix to bring you any relevant information and discuss that. Any other questions, Robbie?
Not seeing any at this time. I don't see anybody's hand raised. They usually pop right to the front of the line on my screen.
Evening meetings are slow, right?
Hi, Robbie, this is Diana Kaminsky. I'm not seeing the button for where you raise your hand.
Well, Ryan, please go ahead and speak. I thought you were not able to make it. I'm so glad you're there. You actually did some initial research on that noise contours also, if you want to speak on that also.
The raise hand button is under reactions. If you click reactions, then there's a thing to hit raise hand. I do see Patricia Steele figured out how to raise her hand. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question and we'll be happy to answer it or discuss with you.
You are muted.
Patricia, we cannot hear you. You forgot to unmute yourself. Don't worry, we do the same thing all the time.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was just wondering, what exactly are we doing about the homeless? I know that Tempe Women's Park was just renovated and it's beautiful, but the homeless in there, everybody's afraid to go walking in there because they've overtaken that beautiful new playground they just put in. So what steps are we taking to rectify that maybe? I don't know.
So Patricia, we have someone from Human Services, Nikki Stevens. We can respond to that. But before that, I just wanted to, that's an important question, something that we definitely will want to be aware of. The character area plan itself will be sensitive to that issue, but the plan itself probably will have a little more limited scope. But the city has certain programs. Nikki, would you be able to respond to that question?
Hi, Ms. Steele. I'm Nikki Stevens. I'm the Homeless Solutions Supervisor for the City of Tempe. And we do have homeless outreach teams that can go out and try to engage individuals. I wasn't aware, we try to put parks on a rotation where our team goes out and speaks to individuals experiencing homelessness. You're welcome to email hope@tempe.gov, and I can definitely get somebody out there and try to mitigate the issue that's going on. We also have put in a proposal to the City Council regarding an increase of homeless outreach workers that would be directly servicing the parks. So they would be directly dedicated just to the parks. Currently, the staff is, you know, as you can imagine, we get lots of calls and emails all day long. So the staff currently is going out and being responsive to those and going around to the different parks and areas and change our route as we get concerns from neighbors such as yourself. So you're welcome to email me. I'd be happy to get somebody out there, but we are working on a consolidated plan with some interdepartmental collaborations that's working to address that issue as well.
Yeah, because any community planning in this area, you want to preserve the beautiful parks and stuff here. I'm hoping that they're not going to go away, but if they're just going to be overrun, then we're not going to get any good businesses coming into the area, or you know what I mean? The development of the area will be stunted because of it. But
No, I understand. And, you know, it's not just happening in our community. This is a nationwide, statewide, Maricopa County-wide issue. And I think that if we are increasing our staff to be able to directly serve our parks, we'll have a better outcome for the people that we serve. You know, homelessness is a complicated issue. There's no one size fits all model. We have people with different various issues that are out there. We have people coming from outside cities to our city as well. So you are welcome to communicate with me and I'd be happy to get somebody out there, but it is a high priority for us in human services as well as city council.
okay, I understand. I have one more question. Are we planning on preserving the parks that we have now and bringing in more cultural things into the area? Is that part of the scope that you all have in mind?
That is, this is Robbie. That is absolutely part of the scope that we have in mind, and we will be working with our Parks Department and you all to make sure that what we have in our in this plan lines up with what you guys would like, and then what they have long term in the future, as they are also currently working on a Parks Master Plan.
Okay, thank you.
I see that Kim, you have your hand raised, so feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, well, I can help answer a little bit for Patricia as well. I'm on the Desert Conservation Commission, and the biggest help in Evelyn Hallman Park has been reporting. So whether you're reporting, you know, to the Hope group or 311, different homeless take different approaches, and sometimes, I'm sure Nikki could back this up, that it takes more than one interaction with them to get them to respond. One of the advantages we have in the preserve is that that area was not specified in the Ninth Circuit's decision, where you cannot move the homeless unless you have somewhere for them to go. They have taken a little bit of a more hands-off approach in that because of COVID, because you don't want to congregate the homeless together for, you know, protection reasons, but they've been working, you know, to find places for them. But related to this, my concern, because it is such an identifier in North Tempe, is Scottsdale Road. And the majority of our accidents, our crime, and we've got a lot of homeless concentration that's been showing up on Scottsdale Road as well. So I really hope to see that addressed. I think I put in there that I'd like to see a monument because we're the northernmost entrance into Tempe. And I think to have some kind of a unifying design or artwork on our bus shelters and benches along the way, and that type of thing would really be a great way to unify the area of North Tempe, because we get separated sometimes between the east side of Scottsdale Road and the west side of Scottsdale Road. And if anybody can address that, that would be great. Thanks.
Hey, Diana.
Yes, I'm here.
Did you wanted to say anything on this or any other items?
I know I told you I was going to have to leave. Just want to say hi to everyone. It's good seeing you, and I look forward to working with everyone in the future. I don't have any real comments to make tonight.
Thank you.
Hello,
Kim,
Ambi.
go ahead, Ryan.
Robbie? Yes, I'd be happy to respond to Darlene Justice's comments about proposed second dispensary in the county island. Because her and I have talked a lot about this, and we know there's different regulations in the county island as it pertains to medical marijuana, or and now in this instance, recreational marijuana as well. It appears that they're been applied for a variance to deviate from the standards for Maricopa County. We have communicated or shared information with the county as well regarding the city's separation requirements for appropriately placing dispensaries or marijuana establishments in Tempe's jurisdiction. Although this area doesn't fall within our regulatory control, we'd like to see the area eventually annexed in the city. And I think that's the best potential approach to addressing the county island being inundated with additional marijuana dispensaries, is that once that land, that area is incorporated into the city of Tempe, it becomes under city's regulatory jurisdiction and would hopefully limit the amount of dispensaries within that facility area there. But at this time, it's up to the county and whether or not those sites or locations are afforded additional dispensary locations.
Thank you, Ryan. I just want to go back to Kim's question or comments about like a unique identity, like you said, about bus stops and something that all looks the same and kind of brings this area together. I think that's really what character area planning is about, is finding what that unique identity is, and then implementing things that continue to move that unique identity forward. So that way, when you do come to this area or any of our other character areas, that you know where you are and what this area is all about. And I feel like that when our planners and our DRC and council look at these plans, that they really try and implement the things that are in this plan in order to carry that unique identity forward into the future. So.
Yes. Let me also add a couple of sentences, Robbie. That's a good point you made. So there are some interesting historical kind of visuals in the Papago North area, bricks and timber and certain typologies. And we know that the transportation department and certain divisions have been working on typical bus shelters and other types of stations. So definitely we'll work with them on if there is certain things that we can incorporate for this area, that the aesthetics becomes much more blended and compatible with the localities. So that's something we need to kind of discuss internally also, and also get the input from all of you. But I agree, that's a very important questions, and like Robbie very well said, that is the actual central focus of the scope of the character area plan, just to see what kind of visual elements and aesthetic character, something that we can continue to enhance and make the new development consistent with it. Do we have any other questions, comments?
I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see any additional hands raised.
Maybe Kim Gaffney's got her hand raised.
I think she may have not put her hand down.
Hi, this is Nikki Stevens. I just wanted to comment, Miss Justice had commented about Scottsdale Road and the many homeless folks in that area, and we are very aware of what's going on over there. What the people that we serve have indicated is that the hotel prices are so very low right now at a lot of those places that it's allowing people to do to be able to stay there, so it's under the $50 range. So I think that has allowed an increase of seeing folks in that area, but we are well aware of it and working to address it.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate that.
I think there's some question on the traffic. Says air traffic rather than the ground traffic. Hey, Robert.
I think Kim has her hand up again.
Yes.
Hey, Robert, did you want to speak anything about any initiative that we have on pedestrian area improvements, bike improvements, or anything on that side?
I can.
Please.
We are trying to improve the connection. If you guys know, on the north side of the freeway, the 202, Phoenix built a path, a multi-use path that extends all the way to, I think, 17th Ave. It's called the Grand Canal. The city has, built a Grand Canal previously, but it's less than a mile length. And we're trying to make some connections with that. We have a grant to design, to make the connection. And not only connect it to the Grand Canal, between the two Grand Canals, but also connect to the Crosscut Canal. So we will, on the planning process, we are trying to add a signal across Mill Avenue, north of Washington, so that we can have a safe connection to reach the Grand Canal area, as well as do some ADA consistent improvements on that makes people be able to access the north bank of the Tempe Town Lake. So we are in the process of designing that. We should have public meetings soon, maybe in August. But we have funding to do the design, as well as to prepare to construct whatever design that we will come up with.
Thank you, Robert, for sharing that. Back to you, Robbie.
Kim, I see your hand up? Do you have another question for us?
What was that to me, Robbie?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I wanted to thank Robert because having explained that, because I myself have seen bicyclists come from the Crosscut Canal and just right in the middle of the street go across Mill Avenue, and my heart's been in my throat a couple of times, being afraid somebody was going to get hit. So I'm glad to hear that's happening. But one of the things I was going to say about traffic, since you brought it up, is I noticed on the CIP, and I have talked to Shelley about this, that the roundabout that was planned for College and McKellips was taken off. And even though we don't have as much traffic right now because of the pandemic, the speed of the traffic has increased greatly. And there are a lot of people crossing. Number one, Tunnelia is just north of us in Scottsdale, and that's where a lot of our children go to school. And we have a lot of people who cross to go to Evelyn Hallman Park and into Papago Park. So I'm just hoping that maybe that can be addressed sometime in the future, that we haven't forgotten about it.
Robert, do you have any comments on that?
Not particularly.
Shelley might.
Yeah, I do. So Kim, after our email back and forth, I did contact Mark Day. It was submitted. He included as a project for the 5-year CIP. So on Thursday, you will see it as a project. However, if you're familiar with how they rank the CIPs, I believe it fell into the yellow or red area. So it did not, at this time, score high enough to be included in the green portion, which are the projects that are identified to be funded. Now, that said, that could change. Council will weigh in on different priorities. But if you look at the materials, I believe they have the red, yellow, and green list, and it's towards the bottom. But I did follow up on that, and I apologize. That one got removed last year because of COVID, And that was my error in not resubmitting it for this year, but it is included for consideration for the 5-year CIP.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just don't want it to be forgotten about because I think it would be good for the neighborhood in the long run.
Good.
Thank you, Shelley. I see Sherry Lesser asked if there will be light rail extension north of the 202. I'm not aware of plans for light rail extension. Robert, you might have a little more insight into that.
Yeah, there's no plan to extend light rail going north on Scottsdale Road. But there are studies that are being done for other types of high capacity transit that might be happening in the future as part of the FRAP 400 extension projects. Bus rapid transit is probably one of the suggestions that's coming out from MAG to be built on Scottsdale Road. But for now, there's no mention of light rail.
Thank you, Robert.
It's good to hear hear from Sherry Lesser. Okay, it's 6:59. Does anybody else have anything else? If not, I think we can begin to wrap it up. Sana, you have any announcement, anything else you want to speak?
Just remind everyone you have through April 4th to comment online. So if anyone couldn't make it tonight, please share that with them as well. And then we will continue to keep everyone updated on next steps through the website or through direct mailings. And so we will be reaching out. So thank you everyone for coming tonight.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Robbie, Ryan, do you have anything else to add?
Do not. Thank you everyone for attending.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you people next time, and the information will be available on the website. Have a good evening.